both directions, but especially on the northbound side as you're trying to get towards Daybreak. Anywhere from like 126 south up to 114 south, you will see that you need extra time to get through that area. Also, we had a vehicle that was needed to be moved out of traffic southbound to I-15 just after 2100 south. It's all been cleared up now, but traffic was heavy and slow back to about 1300 south for just a few minutes. That is clearing out. Select dates through December 24th. Stop by the Entertainment Plaza at Jordan Landing Shopping Center to get a photo with Santa. Visit jordanlanding.com for details. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And taking a look at the forecast for the Wasatch Front, today's high 47. Looks like the weekend, 49 for a high on Saturday, but a 20% chance of showers, a 30% chance tomorrow. 45 degrees downtown.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 1 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. Utah law enforcement about to begin its extra overtime shifts to help crack down on impaired driving during the holidays. Police encouraging people to plan their nights out or to take advantage of a promotion where people can get $10 off an Uber ride between now and the new year. You can find more information at kslnewsradio.com. Lyft is piloting a benefits program with a company called Stride exclusively here in Utah. Stride says it'll put money into an account that drivers with elite status can access and put towards insurance coverage.
We help connect independent workers with access to things like health insurance, dental and vision insurance, as well as things like tax solutions and expense tracking and support, as well as some savings accounts.
Brian Jaimo is the vice president of portable benefits company, Stride. He says the program is for gig workers who want the flexibility of independent work but can't get the benefits that come with working full-time. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. New rules from the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau could save Americans billions of dollars a year. Most bank customers would pay only a $5 overdraft fee if they spent more money than is available in their checking account. Here's ABC's Elizabeth Schultze in Washington.
This change officially takes effect next October, though it could face legal challenges. The banking industry group, Consumer Bankers Association, saying in a statement, the rule jeopardizes access to overdraft services and disregards bank-led innovations.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is down now 233 points on the day. The NASDAQ is down by 95. And our KSL weather. We've got clouds building up, and tomorrow we'll see a chance of rain. That's next. KSL News Time 102.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
The temperatures outside have dropped a bunch, and now my family and I are enjoying the benefits of our brand new windows from Advanced Window Products in a different way. During the summer, it was nice to be able to keep the cold air in. Now it's nice to see how much more efficiently we can keep warm air inside. We replaced 20 of our builder-grade windows with high-efficiency windows and a glass door to our backyard with a built-in pet door, and we have just been thrilled with the results. We're already saving on our energy bill. We're helping pay for the windows with the rebate available through Dominion Energy. Our price didn't include any middleman markups because they did the sales and the installation all in-house. My wife and I love that there's a lifetime warranty serviced by their local team, labor, glass, parts included. I promise they're going to treat you right, and you'll have an amazing experience from start to finish, just like I did. Right now is a great time to do it. Also, they're having an end-of-season sale. Save $2,500 on 10 windows or more. 801-850-9100 or advancedwindows.com.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $999, PCLaptops.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. And here's Ricky Meese.
Lane restrictions in a construction zone causing delays northbound Mountain View corridor in Harriman approaching daybreak, and Salt Lake City PD clearing a crash at 1700 South, 1100 East. Celebrate the 80th anniversary of America's first Nutcracker at Ballet West with music performed live by the Ballet West Orchestra. Reserve your seats for this holiday tradition at balletwest.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high 47. More clouds tomorrow with a chance of rain or snow. And right now, 45 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
All right, welcome into Inside Sources. Sitting in the big chair today, Marty Carpenter. I'm glad to be back with you. I've been here a few times before, and always fun to have a discussion about the things going on in our state and in our nation, and just talk through some of these issues and maybe a little bit of explanation on some of the things that's going on and give you a perspective. My background, by the way, is in political communication. So a lot of what I will bring to the discussion today is going to come from what is the message that we're seeing here? What is the message that they're trying to get us to buy into? Why is that message maybe not accurate? And what's the best way for us to really get a better grasp on the situation overall? Just me in today, so we'll get through this together. We're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff coming up today. Donald Trump gets put on Time Magazine's cover as Person of the Year. He gets to go ring the stock exchange bell. We're going to talk about how tech leaders are positioning themselves to have a better relationship with the incoming administration, and how Democrats are scrambling to have better relationships with some of those tech executives as well. We're going to talk about medical debt. We're going to talk about all kinds of great stuff. The president of China may be coming to the United States for the inauguration. We will get through all of that on the show. But I wanted to start out with this because when I woke up this morning, the first news that I saw today dealt with pardons. And no, this isn't going back in time like a week to when the big news was the pardon by President Biden of his son, Hunter Biden. This is not as specific in that person. In fact, we don't even have a list yet of who got pardoned, but I will say that the number is pretty large. 1,500 individuals pardoned by President Joe Biden today. I wanted, though, to just set some things because I wanted to make sure I had the terms right in my head. Some of you out there may know this type of stuff already, but I think it's a really good level setter for us as we talk about the kinds of things or the details of a story that deals with pardons. So a couple of terms. Let's make sure we're on the same page here. clemency. Clemency is like the umbrella term. Clemency is like everything that falls under it. Pardons, commutations, reprieves, things along those lines. Okay, those are the general ones that you need to know a little bit about. Maybe the other one I would throw in there is like remissions is another one that falls under that category. Here's the breakdown on those. So a pardon is exactly what you're thinking of most likely. That's the get out of jail free card. That's like whatever you did, or as we saw in the Hunter Biden case, whatever you might have done and might have been charged with over the past time period. Here is a pardon for a specific crime or a specific time period, as we've seen. So that's like the get out of jail free card. The second one to think of is a commutation, and we're going to hear a little bit more about those because a lot of these were commutations. This is sort of time served, right? It's a reduced sentence. It's saying, hey, you've been in prison for a while, and we think that's enough. We think you've learned your lesson, and now we're going to move you along. You're going to go ahead, and that's good. Good enough, and move on. The third one is like a reprieve. That's like a delaying of a punishment. And then the fourth, you could talk about a remission, which is like canceling a fine, usually. That's how all those fall in under there. But here's the statement from President Joe Biden, what he said today. He said, America was built on the promise of possibility and second chances. As president, I have the great privilege of extending mercy to people who have demonstrated remorse and rehabilitation, restoring opportunity for Americans to participate in daily life and contribute to their communities. Here's what I'll say, because I've written a lot of statements in my life. That's actually a really good start, right? Like that's throwing out so much apple pie that it's like, well, who really can disagree with those statements? The devil gets into the details a little bit more, right? So he's going to commute the sentences of, let's see, here's the breakdown. He's going to pardon 39 people who he says, quote, have shown successful rehabilitation and have shown commitment to making their communities stronger and safer. We don't know who these 39 people are. He's also going to commute the sentences of nearly 1,500 people who he says are serving long prison sentences, many of whom would receive lower sentences if charged under today's laws, policies, and practices. Okay, I can follow along with that a little bit. He goes on to say that these commutation recipients were placed on home confinement during the COVID pandemic, so they wanted to have fewer people crowded into prisons. They moved some folks out, put some who presumably were less dangerous and were taking people off, murderers row and putting them on home arrest, but putting some people on home arrest. And the argument from the president here is that these people have successfully integrated or reintegrated into their communities, their families, and they've shown that they deserve a second chance. I'm really interested to see what the public reaction is to this, because you get the big one with Hunter Biden, right? That was the headline grabber. And then you get like the headline grabber here is just the number, the scope of it. How many people were given some kind of clemency? Then the president also says, I will take more steps in the weeks ahead. So he may not be done. He may not be done when it comes to handing out pardons. What's interesting to me is when you look at the way the presidential race just went, and not even just the presidential race, but the federal races across the country. Democrats on the left, Republicans on the right. Democrats got hammered on things that were, I think you could put into the bucket of being soft on crime. They're soft on immigration, they're soft on crime, and then you get this. If you're the Democrats, now you get this. Now you get a president, and all presidents tend to have a lot of pardons that come right at the end of their term. But you get this boom, Hunter Biden, big headline grabber. And then you get number 2, 1,500 people plus 39 pardons. And more to come. I mean, I think if I'm on the left side of the political spectrum, I'm just sort of like every day waiting to see what else the sitting president from my party does that's going to make me go, ugh, that is not the message we need to be sending right now. It's just not the message that I think a lot of people want to hear. Now, on the flip side of that, President Trump's already talking pardons as well. He says he intends to pardon, quote, most, close quote, rioters accused or convicted of storming the Capitol on January 6th in 2021. He says it's going to be one of the first official acts of his presidency. Trump says it's going to start in the first hour. I won't do the impression. I'll just say it. It's going to start in the first hour, maybe the first 9 minutes. How's that for some specificity for you? He calls the people who were either convicted or going through this process related to January 6th, he's called them political prisoners. He's been a little obtuse when it comes to the scope of the clemency. They're going to be, again, here's a number. That number we just heard, 1,500 January 6th defendants have been charged in connection with what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. That ranges from like trespassing misdemeanors, assaulting police, seditious conspiracy as you escalate in what those charges are. Those who are convicted of the higher charge, that's sedition, could be in jail, in prison for decades. And so Trump has come out and said, now we're taking care of that. These guys have been political prisoners. They've been targeted because of their political beliefs and to be made an example of by the Democratic administration, and so I'm going to pardon them. Presidential pardon power, really interesting how this plays out. I think where the public is going to come down on this, I don't know. Geez, it feels like they're going to say Biden needs to slow his roll a little bit on his way out of the office. In Utah, I don't know that the pardons are the kind of thing that we're the most concerned about. I'll bet most Utahns are saying, what other damage can a president leaving office do, especially one of the Democratic Party, opposite the party that's here in the state? Public lands, another monument, that's a possibility. We'll see. That's how we're moving on from one administration into the next. All right, we're going to talk more about President Trump later on in the show. We're back with more on Inside Sources after this.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
Here's something you don't want to miss. We want to let you know about Advanced Garage Door. They're a great company that Deb and I discovered.
Kyle, what sets Advanced Garage Door apart from other companies?
At Advanced Door, we're always looking for the industry-leading and highest quality garage door parts. We handle everything from repairs and installations to maintenance and emergency services. Plus, we provide a lifetime warranty on all residential doors and parts.
A lifetime warranty? That's amazing. What does it cover?
Our lifetime warranty covers labor on residential doors, parts, and services, as long as our recommendations are followed. This means our customers can enjoy peace of mind knowing their garage doors are always protected.
That's fantastic. So if someone's garage door is giving them trouble, what should they do?
Just give us a call. Our certified technicians are available 24/7 to provide prompt and reliable service. We're here to ensure your garage door is always in top shape.
For all your garage door needs, visit advanced-door.com.
Or call 801-252-5977 today.
Advanced Garage Door, where we sell peace of mind.
Hi, this is Cameron Rising. Growing up, summer break was the best, but I've learned that a lot of kids don't feel the same. That's because summer means their school breakfast and lunch won't be available. What's awesome is the food bank helps. Join me and Les Olson IT by giving food, time, or money. Take your donations to any Les Olson IT branch or the food bank. And find more info at lesolson.com/food. Let's support our community together.
This holiday season, give the gift of joy with Mrs. Cavanaugh's chocolates. Imagine the delight on your loved ones' faces as they unwrap a box of their handcrafted gourmet chocolates. From creamy caramels to chocolate-covered treats, each piece is made with love and the finest ingredients. Family owned for over 60 years, Mrs. Cavanaugh's offers a tradition of quality and care. Whether it's their famous chocolate-covered nuts or their decadent fudge, Mrs. Cavanaugh's has something to make every holiday moment sweeter. Find the perfect gifts this year for your family, friends, and employees at mrscavanaughs.com or visit their retail store to explore their holiday specials and delicious corporate gifts. Order now and make the season unforgettable with the magic of Mrs. Cavanaugh's chocolates, where every bite is a memory. Share the sweetness.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because when people don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from, they can truly thrive, like Marta.
And now we'll hear from our class valedictorian, who with our hard work never ceases to amaze us.
Please welcome Marta Moreno.
And Alex.
Hey, Alex, how did the interview go?
I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
I knew it. Let's meet up later to celebrate.
And Diego.
Mom! I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow. feedingamerica.org/actnow. A public service announcement brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, law enforcement urging people to plan ahead for holiday celebrations so they're not driving impaired. Second, Lyft offering its drivers an opportunity now to save money for insurance. Third, new rules could limit bank overdraft fees to $5. 45 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
All right, welcome back. We are moving on to talk a little bit about, what's been the biggest story over the past week? It's hard to say sometimes what's been the biggest story in a week, but certainly a lot of the big story over the last week or so has been around the killing of the United Healthcare CEO in Manhattan, and then the manhunt that ensued. And to an extent, the fallout of the public reaction to it, which was really interesting because you had, I think we can all agree, it's not good when anybody gets murdered. It's bad when someone gets gunned down on the streets. It's bad. That's all bad. That's all bad. And I think what surprised me and surprised a lot of people was the willingness of so many people to come out publicly or on social media and essentially say they were glad that this happened, that they didn't look at this individual, as a father, as a husband. They looked at him as the head of a healthcare company. And I think what you saw was a reaction based on the interactions a lot of people have had with their health insurance. And those who haven't had bad interactions with their health coverage, sort of that stress that's always out there that at some point you might, that something will get denied, that you'll have a need to go to an emergency room and something's not going to be covered, or somewhere you're going to have been where you didn't really have time to check the options and you're out of network. And you'll have a large bill coming from the doctor, from the operating room, whatever, and then you're going to not have coverage. And I think that's because Americans generally understand we understand what the agreement should be when it comes to insurance, health insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance. And that is, I'm paying you a little bit every month, and there's a really pretty good chance that you're going to make money, company, because a lot of us are going to pull money in and you're going to add up all of that money. You're going to aggregate it all, and then you're going to pay out when people have things that should be covered. And I just want to know that I'm taken care of should something like that happen. I'm not trying to abuse it. I just want to know. I think that's the majority of us just say, great, I got car insurance. I just want to know that if someone hits my car, or if I accidentally bump into someone's car, or something catastrophic happens, I'm covered. And that it's not going to kill my financial position or my financial future. That's the agreement people want when it comes to insurance. And it's one that they don't always feel like they get, right? That suddenly, this isn't covered. And this goes to that idea of we hear about health insurance companies that come out and say, we're just going to deny everything and then you can fight us on that. We start with a denial. That sort of breaks that initial agreement, that emotional agreement you should have with a customer. And because of that, we saw a lot of people who said, boy, I feel bad because a murder's bad. I feel bad because a family lost its, father and husband. But boy, what that guy did with his 40 to 60 to 80 hour work week, I'm having a hard time feeling really sympathetic about that. So we had kind of this push and pull on how we're reacting to this particular story. And on one hand, it was the reaction you wanted, where people were saying, God, geez, this is just awful. And on the other hand, it was almost the extreme of that, people cheering on the alleged killer. It's brought up a really interesting debate. There's another element of this, though, that I think is worth talking about, and that is, as people are talking about health insurance and talking about the financial impact of healthcare in this country, there is a fight both to streamline the government, and there's some people looking at some of that and saying, hey, there's some things that we shouldn't get rid of. One of those is this fight against medical debt and its impact on your credit. And as the new administration comes in and the focus has been on let's streamline the government, something that's long overdue and needs to get done, let's root out the inefficiencies, let's make the federal government work for the American people, at least move the dial in that direction significantly. People are on board with that. And then there are other groups saying, hey, let's be careful that as we chop, that we don't cut too much or that we don't do something hasty. That's not the Elon Musk way, by the way. Generally, he sets unrealistic timelines and pushes for them. He sets, hey, we got to cut regulations, and if we don't have to put 10% of them back, then we haven't gone far enough in cutting them in the first place. But you've got some states that are saying, hey, like something like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has been sort of in the crosshairs. This is, it's one of those agencies that you look at and say, hey, well, who can argue with what their mission is, right? Created in 2010, they essentially protect consumers from deceptive, abusive, unfair financial practices. Hey, who can't get on board with that, right? Depends on how you look at things. Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, right? Ronald Reagan's scariest words in the English language. What the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has often done is said, let's set some guidelines for how medical debt can't impact someone's credit. As the general flow of things with the new administration coming in is to say, this might not be something we do at the federal level. Suddenly, this topic has folks on the left side of the aisle doing what folks on the right side of the aisle, I think, have figured out a while back, which is some things just aren't going to get done at the federal level. And your best advocacy opportunity, your best opportunity to go make significant or impactful change to get the policies in place that you want isn't at the federal level. It's at the state level. So federal support for medical debt relief, may decline under the Trump administration. I don't think the Trump administration has necessarily said anything that they're going to attack that, but you've got this general feeling. So some places are turning to the state level to do that. And you've got states, and yes, you'll hear when you hear the list of the states, New York, California, Colorado, blue, purple, but trending blue, have already implemented protections. And they've done them actually in large part, bipartisan support. People saying, hey, we need to make sure that, families out there who have medical debt can't get dinged on their credit for this. So there have been some signals that they're going to scale back federal programs like Medicaid or the ACA subsidies, right? These changes could increase premiums. They could impact out-of-pocket costs. So as this happens, like I think most people are sitting here saying, I'm on board. And the public has voted to say we're on board with trimming some of the fat from the federal bureaucracy. And I'm telling you, this is Elon Musk's modus operandi. Cut a lot, and if you don't have to put 10% of them back, then you weren't aggressive enough in your cuts. So some of these things are going to potentially get cut. That doesn't mean they're gone forever. It doesn't mean that, we maybe need to backtrack on that. That's part of the process. But, when you look at this particular issue of medical debt and the CFPB, right? On the government side, they've reformed medical debt reporting. They've got some debt collection oversight and some transparency in the billing and financial impact awareness. Like those are all good things. But you go look at it from the other side of that argument, and folks like Elon Musk, folks on the right are saying it's government overreach. There's a regulatory burden that comes on business in all of this. It distorts the market. So it kind of goes on both sides of this question, and I just think like this is where I think Trump and the Republicans were really successful in the last election, and it was because they talked about things from a common sense perspective. If I could say one thing about that last election is they set themselves up as we're the party of common sense, and the other one is the party that's lost its way when it comes to common sense. So you got to take it with that lens, and when you look at it that way, I think even as you're cutting and even as you're trying to reform the federal government, this might be one where you look at it and say, all right, we do need to have protections in place so that people don't have their credit impacted, don't have their entire financial lives destroyed in the event of a health emergency. But is there a better way we can do it, right? It's not an either or, keep it, cut it. It's can you improve it? Is it redundant? Is this done somewhere else in government? All interesting questions that need to be answered. And I don't think we're going to solve it on today's show. Sorry if that's what you were expecting us to sort it out in that amount of time. But one thing to keep our eye on for sure. We're going to talk about President Trump and his visit to the New York Stock Exchange and more, including an award, a major award for the president.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Hasn't been a great month in terms of snow in the Salt Lake Valley. So far, the total for Salt Lake City is exactly 0. KSL Chief Meteorologist Kevin Eubanks says on average we should have had half an inch of rain and 4 inches of snow.
The same period of time, December 1st to the 11th, back just a year ago, we'd received 3/4 of an inch of rain and 2 inches of snow. You go back 2 years ago, we had 0.81 inches of precipitation and almost 7 inches of snow.
Kevin says there's still a chance the last half of the month will be able to make up for the first half. The Utah National Guard is getting a new unit, an entire infantry battalion. It's expected to add about 800 soldiers to the ranks of the Utah Guard and boost the economy across the state. Should be up and running by the end of 2028. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, a change in the weather is helping firefighters in Malibu, California. Here's ABC's Alex Stone.
While officially firefighters still don't have a ton of containment, fire activity is now minimal because of cooler, more moist air that's moved in. In fact, today in Malibu, humidity levels are at nearly 50% and rising as some possible rain comes in.
That's ABC's Alex Stone. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down now 194 points on the day, while the NASDAQ is down 111. And our KSL weather looks like clouds are going to bring a chance of rain and snow. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Tim, we've got some really good news for our listeners.
Yeah, as long as we've been talking about soda and seen all the success stories around the halls here at KSL about soda, we have never seen this.
Yeah, so it's 2 for 1 in the month of December, which means, I had life-changing weight loss with soda. I lost 34 pounds, and I did it, 3 years ago now? And I want that increase in energy and confidence and health for all of our listeners. And right now, you and your spouse or you and your child could do it 2 for 1.
Double the results, half the cost. We've told you the story of my daughter who lost 42 pounds and how that nutritionist actually becomes like a member of your family. Well, now you can have a member of your family who also gets the benefits of being able to reach out and get that needed help along the way from a great nutritionist.
How great is that to be able to not just do it for yourself, but to also do it for somebody you love?
Go to sodaweightloss.com right now. It's spelled SOTA and it stands for State of the
Art.
The holidays are a time for reflection on what matters most and the relationships that make life meaningful. At Trajan Wealth, we're proud to be a trusted partner for many of you on your financial journey. Whether you're planning for tomorrow or looking to build a legacy, we believe in doing what's right every time. As a veteran-owned company, I know trust isn't given. It's earned through honesty, integrity, and a commitment to putting our clients' needs first. For those of you that have heard my commercials for years but haven't yet called, know that most of our clients come to us from other financial advisors. You know you deserve more from your financial advisor. Our team, who have the hearts of teachers, are standing by for that second opinion. I promise we won't waste your time. This is more than our duty, it's our passion. So this holiday season, let us help you unwrap the gift of Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. And here's Ricky Meese.
For those who are traveling through the Harriman area, we still have some backups northbound on Mountain View Corridor, working your way to Daybreak, and that is due to lane restrictions for road work. We've also had an accident on Highway 89 in Ogden at about 45th Street, but it's already in the cleanup stages. Looking for the best gift ever? That's what you get at Minky Couture, the original luxury blanket company. Use code KSL50 online and in stores to receive 50% off your package. Visit minkycouture.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 47. More clouds tomorrow with a chance of rain or snow. And right now we're at 44 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
During the last election cycle, I think it is fair to say that Elon Musk made a big bet, and it paid off. It really paid off for him, right? He went all in on the Trump victory. He got it. And that's going to pay off big time for him. Already has paid off big time for him. Not just in influence, right? But in just the overall perception of the importance of X or Twitter, however you want to think about it. He won, so I'm going to go with X at this point. So the interesting thing about that is like, okay, he, even leading up to the election, was saying, I am in a bad shape if Harris wins. He knew he was taking a big bet, and there was no sugarcoating it, but it paid off for him. Now, other tech leaders, other CEOs are seeing that bet paid off, and they are following suit to some extent, right? They're not really gambling on who won, but they are, man, it's kiss the ring season, right? It just happens. And it happens, by the way, I think it would happen not on the Elon Musk stuff, but I think you would see other CEOs trying to build relationships with the incoming administration regardless of who had won. I guess I can't really speculate as to what Elon Musk would have done had it gone the other way. You know, he says he would have been in a bad position. I agree with that. But there's news now, CNN.com had a story out earlier today that Meta, think Facebook, think Instagram, Meta has donated $1 million to President-elect Donald Trump's inaugural fund. Now, $1 million donation is a lot if it comes from me, because I don't have that much. That would be, I'd need that $5 overdraft protection if there were $1 million donation from me. I'm going to guess from you, you'd be, for the most part, would be in the same position. You and I are in the same boat there. $1 million to Meta is like a rounding error. If they have couches there, they find this kind of change in the couches. So it's not the dollar amount that matters to Meta here, but it is a signal. It is an indication to most of us on the outside that, hey, look, tech that has traditionally lined up with the left is now, starting to see, hey, is the right cool now? Is that the place to be? Well, it is for the next 4 years, no matter what. 2 weeks ago, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg met with Trump privately at Mar-a-Lago. And then the donation was reported later on. A lot of companies are going to give to an inaugural. And in fact, at some point, we should talk about what goes into an inaugural because it's really interesting. But it's interesting because you're starting to see some on the left reverse course. And maybe I'm going too far there to say reverse course because they were going to have to go make friends either way, but they have to travel a little bit further to go make friends with the new administration because they were seen as being in opposition. And Meta is really interesting because, Trump was not one who held back in 2020 when it came to Facebook. They were on that grand list of folks who he would target and say, these guys help sway the election away from me. He would say, steal the election away from him. And now you got folks coming back trying to make friends. And again, it's not just Zuckerberg and Meta. Top executives, a number of them from all of the big companies or from many of the big companies have gone to are looking, at least, not all of them have, but are no doubt reaching out, trying to make sure that they have a good working relationship with the incoming administration. And the incoming administration seems willing to at least have meetings. This is what I've actually been most impressed with watching the transition so far. A couple things. Definitely the way that the president-elect has rolled out his senior staff and cabinet nominees. Started with the chief of staff. He's going to have the first female chief of staff in the history of the country. He moved really swiftly and was keeping the news centered on his administration. A lot of times presidents get elected and they hit this little lull. And they've done really what I think is a masterful job of maintaining the public attention by saying this is who's going to be Secretary of State. This is who's going to be the Secretary of Defense. Now, not all of those have worked out beautifully for them, right? They had Matt Gaetz nominated to be the AG, pulls back his nomination. The president pulled back. Gaetz essentially stepped down. Behind the scenes, I'm sure it was kind of one and the same. Maybe more of the one we didn't see than the one we did see. So the president's done a good job of keeping that attention on himself. And in a way, it's kind of made it like there's some cachet with going to work with the incoming administration. So I don't look at the $1 million and think, oh, that was a lot. That was a big deal. But it does show us that these CEOs are saying, hey, I'm willing to go play ball. I'm willing to build relationships. The point I was getting at is that I've been really impressed with the president-elect and his posture on this, at least publicly. I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes on this one, but publicly he said, and he said this in the Meet the Press interview on Sunday, the best retribution is success. We're going to go be successful. We want to work with people. That's the kind of thing that a president-elect should be saying, and I honestly don't know that Trump gets enough credit when he does say the right thing. And maybe that's because the bar has been set lower because, the first time around it was shocking. It was different. But I keep hearing him say a lot of the right things right now. He's holding to his promises. I don't think he's changed a position. But the way he's at least taking an inclusive posture, that's different than what we were sold by the opposition during the election to say he's just going to come out and go after his political opponents. So on the flip side of this, the Democrats seem to think that maybe they either took the tech leaders and the billionaires for granted, or they were too harsh with some of them. Elon Musk in particular. Some ambitious Democrats now taking what has been reported as a warmer approach to Elon Musk and to and their party leaders are kind of coming around a bit, trying to find some common ground. And that's what politics should be about. Hey, maybe a campaign, we can all be on different sides. It does get a little contemptuous. A little might be underselling it. But now let's figure out a way to make this work. And yeah, there's a side that won and a side that lost. And everyone on the right who's won right now knows what it was like 4 years ago to lose and knows what it's been like in the past. Everyone's been on the winning and losing side. But Democrats starting to say, hey, we got to make some inroads here as well. Not so much with the administration, but with Elon Musk. And trying to find areas where they can work together. So interesting to see that they're making those. I mean, let me give you 2 quotes to wrap this up real quick. Senator Elizabeth Warren told Politico, if Elon Musk wants to change government contracting to cut billions of dollars of waste out of the Pentagon budget, count me in. All right? She's got a bone to pick with the Pentagon. There are probably going to be some cuts in some places. I don't know if the Pentagon's going to see a lot of them, but she's at least said that gives an indication that there's a place we can work together. Bernie Sanders. Elon Musk is right. The Pentagon, with a budget of $886 billion, just failed its 7th audit in a row. It's lost track of billions of dollars. All right, let's go figure out where that money went and was it spent well, because we want to make sure that it's being spent well. Interesting to see how these folks are all having to come together. All right, I want to remind you that you should make sure you're signed up to get KSL's newsletter with the 3 things you need to know each day. Just text INBOX to 57500 to get started. That's INBOX to 57500 to get started. We're back with more on Inside Sources after this.
Don't be worried. Be ready.
KSL News Radio has partnered with Be Ready Utah to provide the plans your family needs for an emergency, the tools and supplies to keep on hand, and the knowledge on how to keep a cool head.
It's Be Ready Utah. Listen to our show, Dave and Dujanovic, for Be Ready tips and tools.
Or you can always find the latest preparation info at BeReadyUtah.gov.
Be Ready Utah with KSL News Radio.
Hey, holiday heroes. It's a special time of year at Shane Company. As a family business for 4 generations, we know firsthand that fine jewelry is the gift that says it all. From the engagement ring that says, "You're the one," to the diamond tennis bracelet that says, "Thank you for being you." We have the widest selection of fine jewelry gifts, in stock and ready to take home. Come pick out a pair of hand-matched diamond stud earrings or a necklace with a colorful gemstone. Check out our new Bloom collection, one of owner Tom Shane's favorites this year, featuring stunning sapphires, emeralds, or rubies. At Shane Company, every gift and every price range is crafted to our high-quality standards. We have jewelers working in every store to bring your gifts to life, making sure rings fit just right, setting center stones and engagement rings by hand, and engraving your pieces to make your gifts even more special. Your gifts will always be protected with our unmatched free lifetime warranty. Visit shaneco.com and come see us in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
For eligible individuals 18 and older with self-perceived mild to moderate hearing loss only. Results vary. See website for details and important safety information.
Life without hearing aids can be frustrating.
Andy, did you hear what she just said?
No, I'm sorry. What did I miss?
I said I got the promotion, Dad. I thought you would be excited.
You're missing out on the important moments of your life because you just can't hear them. It's time to try the Jabra Enhanced Select 500, our smallest, most advanced hearing aid. With proprietary speech clarity technology, even the most complex listening situations like a noisy restaurant are crisp and clear. And you can get the same advanced hearing aid technology and professional care you expect from a clinic at a fraction of the cost. Get Jabra Enhance over-the-counter hearing aids and stop missing the important moments. Save $300 on Enhance Select 500 hearing aids automatically at checkout. Just go to JabraEnhance.com/radio. That's JABRA Enhance.com/radio. JabraEnhance.com/radio.
Dominion Energy customers in Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho are now proudly served by Enbridge Gas. Enbridge looks forward to a bright future together. To learn more, visit EnbridgeGas.com.
On the surface, it seemed like just another Cinderella story.
A team that was predicted to finish dead last is now waiting to play the first round of the playoffs.
But Real Salt Lake's 2021 playoff run was so much more than what happened on the pitch.
Our club is burning to the ground.
This is the tip of the iceberg. Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the number of road rage incidents has been averaging about 20 a month since the state started tracking them. Second, the Utah National Guard is getting bigger. It will be adding a new infantry unit with about 800 soldiers. And third, improving weather is helping firefighters get ahead of a big wildfire in California. Right now, 44 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
President-elect Donald Trump was on Wall Street this morning ringing the stock exchange bell. That comes after being named Time Magazine's Person of the Year.
I have to say, Time Magazine getting this honor for the second time. I think I like it better this time, actually, but we did a good job. We had a great first term, despite a lot of turmoil.
All right. Big day for the president-elect. What did you do before 10 a.m. today? Right? Did you get named Time Person of the Year, and did you get to ring the stock exchange bell? Not a bad way to go overall. Kind of interesting, some history on this that I looked at today. The first president to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange was in 1985. I would have thought it was before that. Ronald Reagan, the first sitting U.S. president, I should say, to ring the bell. And he got chants of Ronnie on the floor. So, Trump, good day as well, doing that. I wanted to talk about this and sort of like what's the significance of it and such. And I want to welcome in a longtime friend of mine, Dave Briggs from Cheddar Business News, who was on the floor of the stock exchange today as this was going on. Dave, thanks for joining us, jumping off a train to join us and give us a perspective on this.
Great to be with you, buddy. Yeah, it's been a while. It was a wild scene. I mean, I am at the exchange every day, and most of the time when the bell rings, it's pretty chill. It's, in fact, surprisingly quiet for a lot of people to visit the first time. Today, it was unlike anything I've ever seen. The security, 10x what it normally is, obviously, but you get there. And just a little background on traders, they are all in on MAGA. MAGA hats line that place on a daily basis. So it was target audience for President Trump. Chants of USA breaking out, more selfies than I've ever seen at that place, and that includes athletes, rock stars, you name it. It was the most excited I've ever seen that floor. And to be frank with you, Marty, I'm surprised at the reception he's getting just about everywhere. He is the most bulletproof, and I pun intended, politician we have ever seen and will ever see in our lifetimes.
I was talking about this in our last segment, Dave, that, it feels like what they've been able to do just by winning is sort of make it, I don't know, at first I would have said okay to be a Republican again, okay to be a MAGA Republican, and I would almost start to think, like, from what you're describing, almost like cool to do it again. What do you think the message is that he's trying to hammer home by taking a victory lap like this on this type of public stage, but like specifically with the business community, and what message is he trying to send by like tying himself to the stock exchange?
Well, look, this means everything to President Trump. I would think most presidents could not care less about magazines. Time Person of the Year means everything to President Trump. In fact, there were many that suggested he had a fake one made when he was a businessman, and someone spotted it in his office and realized he had never been named that. So this is a huge, huge deal for him. It's also the first time he's rang the bell to New York Stock Exchange, which I found stunning. For before he was a divisive character, he was an iconic New York businessman, maybe the most visible, maybe the most important for 10 or 20 years, and still never rang the bell. So that was really surprising to me. As for the stock exchange, he ties his success largely to the stock market, which I find actually very odd, because for those of us that do follow the economy closely, stocks have performed at an all-time figure under Joe Biden. They all hit all-time highs in the last 4 years. And the economy, by just about every standard imaginable, has been on fire in the last year or two. And that's what one of the interesting dichotomies of his campaign was, campaigning on fixing the economy that, according to The Economist, which to most of us is the Bible, was the envy of the world and stronger than it had ever been. That was in October, a month before the election. So it's a very strange thing to claim you're going to fix an economy that's already on fire. The one thing he wants to fix and says he will, inflation, everything I see says he'll make it exponentially worse with tariffs and mass deportations. It's going to be a weird 4 years, man.
So what do you think then? I mean, you talk about, hey, there's a lot of MAGA hats lining the stock exchange. There are people there who are taking selfies. For people who are like in this business, folks who are at the market every day or follow the market every day, they live and die with this stuff. What do they see from a president-elect Donald Trump that they say, hey, we're excited about this. We're not only excited to have sort of the celebrity of the president-elect and the former president coming here, but to like the kind of reaction you're describing to me says that there's something about what they anticipate to happen over the next year, over the next 4 years, that they're excited about this. Is it a celebrity thing, or was it like something that they're actually saying, boy, I'm excited because of X, Y, or Z?
It is not a celebrity thing. It is largely his pro-business stance. Of course, when I start conversations with them about things that I just mentioned, mass deportations that could cost $300 billion, tariffs, 25% on our three biggest trading partners. These are things that, without question, fire back up inflation and will be passed on to the consumers. But when I listen to conversations all day long, it is that quiet. You hear enthusiastic support of Trump all day, every day at the New York Stock Exchange. What they say is the regulations, the regulatory environment is going to get much, much better for business. Again, I find that odd because businesses starting up in the last 4 years have been on an all-time pace in terms of new businesses coming out of COVID. But I do hear it from CEOs every day that they believe the regulatory stance from the Biden administration was anti-business. They also say deal-making will be on fire the next 4 years. Look at the last few acts of the Biden administration. They did shut down a number of deals just yesterday, shutting down the merger between Kroger and Albertsons, the 5th and 10th biggest retailers in the country. So it's largely based on taxes and regulation. In fact, other than his cabinet members that were there today, Treasury, Secretary, Interior, there were 6 or 7 CEOs, Goldman Sachs, Citi, Verizon, Target, and a number of others. He met with the Google CEO today. He'll meet with Jeff Bezos next week. He got $1 million from Mark Zuckerberg and Meta for his inauguration yesterday. The CEOs from Silicon Valley are making the pilgrimage down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it.
I love what you're saying there about the regulatory environment, because I think you're spot on. The other thing I hear, and I'll get you out of here on this because I got about a minute, it's businesses love predictability, right? They love stability. They love to know what they can count on going forward. They don't like volatility. So even though you have like someone who looks like sort of an agent of volatility and chaos coming in, it's the kind that they're comfortable with and they like. Is that what I'm taking away from that?
Yes, but they also don't believe that the tariffs will go in place. They think he will do a lot. They know that he'll cut taxes and cut regulations. They don't believe that he will go through with mass deportations and the tariffs, which are very anti-business and will, in fact, hurt our economy. But they love his personality. And, Marty, it's not just here in New York. It is in Silicon Valley. It is in Texas. I was just in Dubai, where several CEOs told me they are thrilled that Donald Trump is back in the White House. That was actually stunning to me. CEOs around the world are thrilled and feel like America is back open for business. It's a crazy dynamic because, again, all three indices were at all-time highs. Job growth was high. Unemployment was low. We were ripping the last year or two.
Dave Briggs from Cheddar Business News and a longtime good friend of mine. Dave, so good to hear your voice, and thanks for giving us this upfront and up-close and personal perspective on what happened on the stock exchange floor today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy. Anytime.
All right, we're back with more Inside Sources after this, and boy, what a day for Donald Trump. Rings the bell, Time Person of the Year. Couldn't ask for a whole lot better than that.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Hasn't been a great month in terms of snow in the Salt Lake Valley so far this month. Our storm totals have added up to exactly 0 on the snow side, when normally we get about 2 inches of rain and 4 inches of snow in December. More than a third of Utah's road rage incidents tracked by UHP since July involve a firearm. Utah Highway Patrol says there have been 79 cases enhanced to a road rage offense. Highest number occurred in July with 20. October was close behind with 19. The state's road rage enhancement law could lead to harsher penalties, including longer prison sentences, higher fines, and extended driver's license suspensions. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The drones that people in New Jersey say they've spotted may not actually be drones. That's from White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby on the growing concern about flying objects. The mayor of Mine Hill, New Jersey, Sam Morris, isn't buying that.
I have to tell you, that's incredulous. I'm incredulous about that. That is ridiculous. I would invite Mr. Kirby to Mine Hill. Come on out, Mr. Kirby, and let's go on out one night about 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'll go out behind my town hall, and you can count them with me all night.
A member of Congress from New Jersey thinks those drones are being launched by an Iranian ship off the coast, something the military says isn't so. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down 234 points as we approach the close of trading today. The NASDAQ was down 132. And our KSL weather, we've got clouds moving in with a chance of rain. That's next. KSL News Time 2:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
It's a holiday gift from Advanced Window Products. $3,000 off when you buy 10 windows or more, plus a free high-performance window upgrade. If your windows are letting the cold air seep in, get upgraded double-pane windows and custom insulated frames. Your heating bill will plunge, and you're saving a ton because Advanced Window Products builds the windows right here in Utah. They're the factory. Their employees do the install. They guarantee their work for life. There's no middleman, so you can save 30, even 40% on new windows. Advanced Window Products will create custom windows, any style, any color. They could even put a doggy door in your sliding glass. But you have to call now. You don't have to pay till later. Advanced Window Products offers 0% financing, and right now $3,000 off for the holidays and a free high-performance window upgrade. Call now, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
This holiday season, give the gift of joy with Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates. Imagine the delight on your loved ones' faces as they unwrap a box of their handcrafted gourmet chocolates. From creamy caramels to chocolate-covered treats, each piece is made with love and the finest ingredients. Family owned for over 60 years, Mrs. Kavanaugh's offers a tradition of quality and care. Whether it's their famous chocolate-covered nuts or their decadent fudge, Mrs. Kavanaugh's has something to make every holiday moment sweeter. Find the perfect gifts this year for your family, friends, and employees at MrsKavanaughs.com, or visit their retail store to explore their holiday specials and delicious corporate gifts. Order now and make the season unforgettable with the magic of Mrs. Kavanaugh's chocolates, where every bite is a memory. Share the sweetness.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. And here's Ricky Meese.
Right now, UHP using the push bar method to get a vehicle out of traffic in this latest accident, northbound I-15, just after 3300 South. They have been able to open up the center and left lanes where we had vehicles all across the freeway, a lot of vehicles involved in this crash. And now it's the right lanes that you'll see blocked with the officers and the crashed vehicles. If you are headed northbound on I-15, expect delays starting right about just after 4500 South. If you're on the on-ramp from 33rd South to join northbound I-15, you need to get over into that left lane at the top of the on-ramp to merge safely onto the freeway. Naughty parking lot? GoPave Utah keeps Santa's landing strip flawless. Nice fix. Don't risk cold this year. Visit GoPaveUtah.com. That's GoPave Utah. Call or visit GoPaveUtah.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 47 and more clouds tomorrow with a chance of rain or snow. And right now we're at 46 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
All right, we've been spending a decent amount of effort, time over the past couple of years, led in large part by our former Speaker of the House, Brad Wilson, to address issues at the Great Salt Lake. And, we've made some progress, I think, is the general consensus that most people would say, yeah, we're heading in the right direction. Not everyone is happy. There's a group from a Deseret News story earlier today, a group called the Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, who says, hey, what we're doing with the inland port, in part, is causing trouble at the Great Salt Lake. So let's find out. Is that actually what's going on, or is that not what's going on? Ben Hart is the executive director of the Utah Inland Port Authority. Ben, thanks for being on the show. And maybe we should start here because I would say if I had to rank all of the things that happen in our state that are public policy related, the thing that if there's a term that people use the most and understand the least, it's inland port. So I wonder, let's level set. Let's start here. Can you start for our audience and tell us about the inland port? What's going on there? What is it ultimately going to be? What phases are we in right now? Give us the 101 on the inland port.
Well, it's so good to be with you. I hope your listeners are doing well this afternoon. It's often we get a chance to describe what we do because I think we are very misunderstood. But in short, we are helping to provide a better logistics system for the state of Utah. We do a lot of our incoming, whether it's people or cargo, we do a lot of it on the road. So we've been trying to take a more multimodal approach. At the same time, we're also trying to empower local economies. And so as we look at the areas we're involved with, particularly those areas around the Great Salt Lake, we're always trying to take the utmost care, particularly with those who have common objectives, to protect the wetlands and the lake. And so that's part of our mission. We want to make the state a better place economically, logistically, but also environmentally as well.
So inland port, I think when people say that, they think of like a single port, and they also go, what the heck is an inland port? But first of all, just explain to us how it's not just one place, and then what is like the objective of having an inland port? What's the benefit to the state that comes from an inland port?
Well, you're right. I mean, the original objective was how do we build one actual port facility on the west side of Salt Lake? Over the last couple of years, we've really gone back to the drawing board and said, what is it the state of Utah needs? And as we've looked at that, we've realized we have a lot of trucks coming into the northwest quadrant of Salt Lake City. So part of what we're doing, instead of building one big rail facility in the northwest quadrant, we've looked at how do we build some rail facilities across the state. As an example of this, in the southwestern part of the state of Utah, there were no rail loading facilities. So we had companies that were bringing in cargo and then putting it on a truck and taking it all the way down to Cedar City, as an example. Now we actually have a rail facility, a loading facility in the Cedar City area. So instead of having to put things on truck where you've got emissions, pollutions, now you can get that cargo right to Cedar City on rail, and ultimately it makes for a better economy. It makes for cleaner air. And so we've diversified the mission. We're no longer about one port. We're about multiple logistics infrastructure opportunities, whether that's related to air cargo, rail, or other dynamics. Now it's more of a statewide effort.
So tell me a little bit about what you can do or what you're doing as you develop to protect the wetlands that this group, the Utah Physicians for a Healthy Environment, are saying are being disturbed or threatened in some way. What measures are you taking, and to what extent, do they have a valid claim that we need to be careful about this? I don't necessarily want you to take their side, but they're bringing up an issue. To what extent are you addressing it, or do you prioritize addressing it?
Well, look, we are on their side. We absolutely are. Those who have common objectives, which are protecting the wetlands and protecting the Great Salt Lake, we feel like we're in this together. So, no, we don't agree with the findings of their report. We feel like they're trying to place blame on our organization, which is absolutely disconnected from what we're doing. So, no, I don't agree with the findings of their report, but the common objectives that we do have in common are absolutely how do we protect wetlands, how do we protect the Great Salt Lake. So how we are doing that, so last month we did a $2.5 million grant to the Department of Natural Resources for wetlands protections right at the south shores of the Great Salt Lake near the northwest quadrant. We also have built into our financing mechanisms for those geographic areas we're involved with that are close to the lake. They actually help provide money back to the protection of the wetlands. And in some of our areas, we actually have stipulations that say you cannot, we are proactively taking the position, you cannot harm wetlands as part of our project area. So these areas that we're involved with are actually better off when it comes to the protection of the wetlands than what they would be if the port were not involved in the development.
As you continue on this process of building, quote unquote, the inland port, right, that has different areas throughout the state, what's the biggest challenge that you face right now? What's the thing that keeps you up at night saying, God, this is the next thing we've got to solve?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is I think, and I hope Utahns have a better sense of where the stuff they get comes from. Very little of what we buy here in the state of Utah actually comes from the state of Utah, quite frankly. Most of it comes from outside of the state. So the clothes we wear, the houses we live in, so much of what we interact with on a daily basis, certainly our cars, much of our livelihood, comes from import and export of goods in and out of our state. The more efficiently we can do that, the better off our lives are going to be. The other thing that we're seeing, just an example of yesterday, our board passed a resolution to help remediate a landfill that has some environmental issues actually near the Great Salt Lake. That one definitely is one that we want to turn around, help remediate, and actually turn into an economic boon for the West Side citizens of Salt Lake City. We want to see something more than just distribution centers. We want to see things that really bring economic value. And so I think there's individual geographic opportunities where we can provide a good economic multiplier, but there's also this statewide, how do we build a better logistics system for the next generation? We get so much in our minds, we just get wrapped around, well, what I do is related to road. We just can't think that way 20 and 30 years from now. We can only build so many roads. We have to be smarter about rail. We have to be smarter about air. The more we do that, the less pollution we're going to have in the air, the better our economy, the better quality of life for future Utahns.
It's a delicate balancing act, and it's a big project, and appreciate your work on it. Ben Hart is the Executive Director of the Utah Inland Port Authority. He's been our guest here on Inside Sources. This is such an interesting idea, and for the very first time I heard about the inland port and tried to wrap my head around what it is, it's just a really interesting way to help Utah in a number of ways, and it's awesome to hear that at the forefront of their minds is the project, but within that list of things they're concerned about is making sure that it's a net positive for us when it comes to reducing emissions and protecting the wetlands. All right, Ben Hart from the Utah Inland Port Authority has been our guest. We're back with more on Inside Sources after this.
The KSL News Radio app will update you on breaking stories.
A house explosion this afternoon.
And you'll get exclusive audio streams from local events, breaking news, and sports.
Cougars feel like they can overcome anything.
All of your favorite KSL hosts are there too, so you can listen anytime. Plus traffic and weather. Download it today. The app for KSL News Radio.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
If you've been listening to me for a while, then you know how excited I've been to have let go of 70 pounds of fat weight in just 5 months, thanks to help from my friends at SOTA Weight Loss. It was simple, straightforward, no injections, no drugs, and no crazy exercises. SOTA clients like me lose our weight naturally, and we keep it off because they equip us with the tools we need to live a healthy, happy life. And get this is an amazing deal right now this month. Get 2 transformations for the price of 1 with SOTA's buy one, get one during the month of December. Lose weight together. It's the best way to do it. Make it a team effort. Start your 2025 off right with a partner. Double the results, half the cost. They've never made this offer before, and you only have a limited time to take advantage of it. It's so much easier when you're not alone. So go to SOTAweightloss.com to get started now. That's SOTAweightloss.com, because SOTA Weight Loss is, say it with me, state of the art.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
How does a soccer club born in an unlikely place,
Utah,
You sure you want to do that in Utah?
Built with players no one else wanted.
We knew no one believed in us.
Reached the league's highest heights.
We finally did it. It was like just this feeling of getting to the top of the mountain.
Russell has made a champion out of Real Salt Lake.
How does that same team find a way to shatter expectations in the midst of a fight for its own survival?
Our club is burning to the ground as we speak.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and in a new podcast, Making of a Moment, the RSL story, we take a closer look at one of those iconic sports moments.
Soccer is a crazy game, and we saw it firsthand tonight.
And unravel how knowing the truth of these moments can transform what they mean.
I just kind of got chills right now thinking about it.
Making of a Moment, the RSL story, is available now. Follow us at makingamomentpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Giving the gift of time during the holidays is a hallmark of the season, but the need for kind hearts and an extra pair of hands is here all year long. You Serve Utah is encouraging Utahns across the state to pledge now to serve those in need in the coming year. You and your family will help spread the holiday spirit long after the holidays have passed. When will you pledge? To sign up, visit www.userve.utah.gov.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the state of Utah has been tracking road rage incidents since June, says a lot of them involve guns. Second, the mayor of Mine Hill, New Jersey, says there really are drones flying over his town at night. And third, wildland firefighters in the west could be looking at a big pay cut. 46 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
All right, we're talking a lot today about President-elect Donald Trump, and not too far down the road, just on the other side, a little bit maybe beyond that, the other side of the Christmas holiday, is the inauguration. We talked earlier about how Meta has given $1 million to President-elect Trump's inauguration committee. This is a big party. Inaugurations are just massive undertakings. For something that happens basically in a day. But some other news coming out today about the upcoming inauguration, and that is that President-elect Donald Trump is waiting to hear back from Chinese President Xi Jinping after he invited him to attend his inauguration next month. No word back at this point. President-elect is still waiting for a response. Not saying he's been left on red at this point, but he is waiting for a response. But it's interesting, the invitation in and of itself, whether or not it is accepted, whether or not the head of China comes to the inaugural, it's interesting that the invitation would be made. And wanted to kind of break this down a little bit and figure out what exactly is going on. And we want to talk to Anna Penchinkina. She is an associate professor of political science at Utah State University. Anna, thanks for taking some time with us today. What do you think President Trump is trying to accomplish by extending this invitation? What are we supposed to read into this?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's definitely an unusual move, which we're talking about it on the news program, because it hasn't been done before. You know, I'm not so I suggest that we set aside his intention and first maybe kind of let me explain why this is so unusual.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's start there. What this doesn't happen a lot, right? How rare is this?
Yeah, so in the past century, it hasn't happened even once, inviting foreign leaders. It's very common to invite ambassadors, right? But not the leaders themselves. But I think, that's not why I think this is unusual. In other words, had he invited, say, Macron to the inauguration, that would be, I don't think this would be as newsworthy. And so, in other words, what I mean is that China is not an ally nation of the United States. And in fact, multiple people in the incoming administration, including the soon-to-be State Department Secretary Rubio and the National Security Advisor Walt, right, including the president-elect himself, they've characterized China as an adversary. They've all floated massive tariffs, right? So kind of like going on the path of trade war with China. And so I think it really sends a strange signal for allies.
the president-elect,
not invited.
Yeah, when President Trump was in office, he was often referred to himself as like the deal maker in chief. And one thing that I think we noticed about him was that everything is sort of a negotiation, right? And so I look at things like the tariffs, and what he's doing is he's anchoring in a negotiation. He's saying, I'm going to hit you with a 25% tariff, and that's not where it's going to end up. But by starting with that position, he's going to get to a better deal than he's got right now. So a lot of things with him I look at and say, this is a guy who's always positioning for the negotiation. So there's got to be some reason here that he's inviting him. It's part of that negotiation that they're setting up on something.
So I think you're right in that interpretation, but I think the problem that I'm seeing with this is that it's a very high risk approach. So if you think about this bilateral relationship between China and the U.S., it's arguably it's the most important bilateral relationship in the world, right? Just the amount of trade, the sensitivity of the Taiwan question. And so without making this spontaneous invitation, normally you have, months and months of preparation for a meeting at that level, just to avoid, an embarrassing moment, just to remove the risk from that high stakes meeting. And so I agree with you that he probably views it as a carrot, right? And proposing the 25% tariffs is the stick, and somehow in the middle, somewhere there will be that amazing deal. But I just think it's a risky approach to how to handle this relationship that is full of peril.
Yeah. Well, let's play down both hypothetical lines here first. Let's say that the Chinese leadership decides, yes, let's accept the invitation. What's the? It sounds like you're saying the risk there is that there's some kind of we don't have enough time to get ready. We have some kind of faux pas. We offend somebody in some way. Is that the biggest risk you see if the invitation is accepted?
No, I think it could be. I think if we are really playing out all hypotheticals, probably a faux pas is kind of small beans. So, do you remember the 2018 summit with North Korea that Trump held in his first term? Yes. So I think that could be kind of especially the second summit. That could be So the first summit wasn't bad. In fact, they did have a signed agreement, I believe. But the second summit. So what happened there, and it really goes to my first point, that lack of preparation, the spontaneous decision. I think then President Trump really thought that just his presence in the room will completely convince the North Korean leader. And instead, the North Koreans basically said, no, we cannot simply accept the terms that you're proposing. This is our, bargaining reservation point, that's what I call it in political science. This is the point beyond which we cannot compromise. And basically, they walked out of the room. So I think that would be, in my opinion, the worst case scenario where Chinese delegation leaves, being offended by the specific demands of the United States.
So if you go down the other line, I guess here's the benefit that I can see. If you extend the invitation and they say, thank you for the invitation, but we can't make it. We're booked that day. Or for whatever reason, they make their excuses and they can't join. They decline to join. But do it in a friendly way. Then all you've really done is sort of you get the credit for offering, but don't actually end up hosting them.
Perhaps. I think it depends on how that's interpreted on the other side, potentially. I think that's reasonable. I would also say that it's an interesting timing, right? I'm not sure how much interaction they had before the election result, but normally these visits take, months in preparation. So in a way, they have a very good excuse. If they did not want to attend, they can simply always, say that security wasn't in place. It's a totally a valid excuse. I think that's reasonable to see that as a an easy way to get points in that relationship. Mm-hmm.
Really interesting perspective. Overall, you look at this move and you say, one you wish that he hadn't done, or one that this is kind of interesting. We'll see how it plays out.
I am always in favor of bilateral negotiations, even with the countries with which the U.S. has, a difficult relationship or complicated relationship. But in this specific case, I wish that invitation was extended after the NATO leaders were invited as well. I think in terms of signaling the values, that would have been a more in line with the United States outlook on the world. Mm-hmm.
Anna Pechenkina is an associate professor of political science at Utah State University. Professor, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate your insight.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, when we move into our next segment, the Los Angeles Times has created an AI tool, or they're at least in the process of creating an AI tool that they think will help eliminate media bias. Media bias is such an interesting topic and one I can't wait to get into. We're going to have a guest join us to discuss how this tool could work and whether or not it's a good idea. We're back with more on Inside Sources after this.
Dave and Debbie.
It's impossible to digest and consume all of the news that's now coming at us through either social media or through web pages or through the radio. Pick what is most impactful in your life and focus on that. And that's what Dave and I do every single morning. We pick those issues that are most important to our listeners and we boil it down so it's digestible. It's simple to understand.
I think we're trying to find the essence of the story. You know, you can't be an expert on all things, but that doesn't mean you can't be curious and really find out more and educate yourself and learn the complexities of an issue. But I think all of us start at ground zero on everything. Ask questions, show that curiosity.
And then if you need more research, you can always go to KSLNewsRadio.com and learn more.
Listen for Dave and Dejanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour: wildland firefighters could get a $20,000 cut in pay if Congress doesn't vote to continue the 2021 infrastructure law by December 20th. John Smith with the North Tooele Fire District told KSL's Noon News it would be difficult for the state to suddenly become responsible for all the firefighting on federal lands.
52.6 million miles of that is federal land. And if the state of Utah were to suddenly be responsible for wildland fires on that, there's just no way possible for us to do that.
Smith says the funding cut would jeopardize hotshot crews, wildland fire trucks, and air support. The infrastructure law included $600 million for all of the nation's wildland firefighters. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. After word that 5 animals have died from bird flu outside of Phoenix, now California's state health department is reporting 2 possible cases of bird flu in cats. These cats were fed raw milk from a company called Raw Farm. Health authorities are urging people to use pasteurized milk because that process kills the bird flu virus. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average closed trading today down 234 points. The NASDAQ was down 132. The S&P 500 was down 32. And our KSL weather. We've got more of a chance of rain and snow coming in tomorrow and the next day. KSL News Time, 2:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and over the years, you've heard me praise the Kinetico soft water systems. You've heard that so often, you might be tempted to chuck a shoe at your radio. Well, hang on, because I've got some great news. Get this, Kinetico will pay you $50. I'm not kidding on this. They'll pay you $50 to buy a competing water softener from another dealer. Ready for the rules, though? Well, they're pretty simple. Invite Kinetico of Utah to your home for a free estimate on a Kinetico water softener. If within 60 days of hearing them out, you buy any other system from any other water softener dealer, Kinetico of Utah will fork over $50. That's how sure they are that after hearing them out, you won't settle for anything less than a Kinetico water softener. Now, this offer does expire in 30 days, so don't delay. Call Northern Utah's authorized Kinetico dealer dealer, Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com. Tell them Doug sent you.
Hello, car donation hotline.
Hi, I'd like to donate a car to the Utah Kidney Foundation. Are you in Utah?
Awesome. Let's get some info and we'll send you a tow truck.
But I want my car donation to benefit my neighbor in Farmington who needs a transplant. Are you in Utah?
That's a no. I'm in SoCal, but you're still donating to charity.
What charity?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, I want my donation to stay in Utah.
Righteous dude. You need to call Tow Cars in Utah. Locals only, am I right?
Oh, yeah. I remember tow cars with a K like kidney. It's on a billboard somewhere. TOWKARS.org. That's it. Towcars.org.
If you'd like your vehicle donation to help Utah kidney patients in the Beehive State, please use the web address on their billboard, towcars.org, to donate your old car or truck. That's TOWK like kidney, ARS. Towcars.org.
Dave and Dujanovic.
What our listeners need to know is what's going on behind the scenes. We hold weekly meetings on how to do our jobs as talk show hosts, as journalists, better than we did them yesterday.
There's some very conservative voices. There's some very liberal voices. But there is space for both. And we're not at each other's throats. We're not yelling at each other. We're having a discussion.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together are brought to you by Sinclair. Save on every gallon with the DinoPay app. And here's Ricky Meese.
For those who are traveling northbound I-15 in Salt Lake County, we still have some heavy and slow traffic left over from this earlier crash in South Salt Lake. This is after 33rd South. Everybody out of traffic now over to the right shoulder. Still a little bit busy and bumpy back to about 4500 South. This is the place, Heritage Park, your official Christmas place. It's Candlelight Christmas, December 10th through 23rd, featuring street fires, gifts, historic pioneer homes down candy cane lanes. Visit thisistheplace.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 47 and more clouds tomorrow with a chance of rain or snow. And right now 40 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Thinking back over the last hour and a half, we've been hanging out together, and I keep saying, well, you keep saying the phrase I thought this was so interesting from the last election cycle. And I think that there were just so many fascinating elements to what took place over the summer and really even the year leading up to that, but particularly over the summer and into the dog days of summer and into that home stretch for the election and all the way up through Election Day. I don't think it's been any less interesting as we've moved into the phase of the transition, and we'll get into the new administration. It's all just been so interesting. But one of those things, man, that really just stood out to me was the idea of media bias. And I get it. I'm the guy who pops in every so often and sits here and just gets to kind of pontificate for a couple of hours. And I've worked with our local media. I was Governor Herbert's spokesman for a year and a half before I ran his 2016 reelection, which also put me in a position of speaking and interacting with reporters a lot. I've done this for the last 15 years, and I have great relationships with so many members of the media here in the state. So I want to just first say what I'm mostly talking about, not exclusively, but what I'm mostly talking about is media bias on sort of that national level. And I think we all kind of realize it's there, right? You know which channel you're going to turn on and you're going to get a conservative viewpoint, or one you're going to get a more liberal viewpoint. But man, during this last election cycle, it became impossible to defend the position that maybe some people still have, that the media has no bias. And no bias, an absolute, is always really difficult to defend, right? There's always some bias. But unvarnished bias, like not trying to hide our bias in any way. Really interesting. And now, geez, I mentioned this when we talked to David Briggs earlier from Cheddar News that it's sort of, maybe it's becoming culturally, like, if not cool, but like okay to be on the right again. And I think you're seeing that in shifts in other directions. The Los Angeles Times, for example, is looking to introduce a new tool, an AI tool, to help combat media bias in its own newsroom. The owner of the paper, the publisher, has said, we're an echo chamber. Everybody in this place thinks the same, which in and of itself isn't problematic if they all think we're the guardians of truth and we're going to be skeptical and question everything from both sides. But he's saying, no, we are seen as an advocacy group essentially for the left, and that is not what our mission is as a publication. And he wants to change that. I think it's a great idea. The AI element is really interesting to me. I want to focus on that first, and the next segment we're going to talk a little bit more about media bias generally. Brandon Amaker is the Director of Emerging Technology Policy Lab at Utah Valley University down in Orem. Brandon, thanks so much for coming on, because I want to talk first about the technology involved here. From what I understand, this is not going to roll out until January, so it's sort of a work in progress. And I would argue it's probably a work in progress beyond that point as well. But tell us a little bit about what you know or what we know about this. What is this AI tool, and how could this potentially work?
Yeah, so, it seems that they want to include this meter, right, which would, on their own stories, kind of give them and readers a score in terms of how biased an article would be. In terms of the internal technical details, there's not a ton that's been released here. I mean, they're developing it internally and in partnership with, it looks like some Silicon Valley biotech companies, which work in a similar vein. But I think the basic idea is, hey, we're going to have AI review our work and then assign it a score that is, can kind of guide both the writers and also the readers.
Do you think, from what you understand, and I don't know this, is it going to be, hey, a reporter writes a story and then just to give a score to it so a reader can say, hey, they've written the story, we've published it, but just so you know, our AI tool says this is a 5 out of 10 or it's a 2 out of 10 as far as being balanced? Or is it a tool they'll use as they're writing stories to say, hey, before we hit publish on this, by the way, this is scoring really low. It's showing that there's a lot of bias in this. Here's how we can fix that before we go. So is it like something to just let the readers know, or is it something that they're planning to use in developing the stories?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And the exact details are a little bit light right now, but it does seem like it would be something that would be both used to guide the team internally, but also to, get it out to the reader. So I imagine what they would look for is at first, the writing team would be able to review the content using this tool and then hopefully adjust what they're saying so that it gets a more reasonable score prior to publication. Because I can't imagine that they would want to write something and then publish it and then post facto learn that it got a super biased score that all the readers can see.
Mm-hmm. If this ends up being a successful project endeavor for the Los Angeles Times, I would imagine that means it's something we're going to start to see more and more of. Or even if it fails, do you think it's still something we're going to see more and more of as people try to implement artificial intelligence into their specific fields of work?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think we're going to see AI kind of penetrate every single field regardless. What would be really interesting to me is to see exactly how they're approaching this problem. Because bias, just because it's an AI, because it's a robot, doesn't necessarily mean that it can't in and of itself be biased. So, for example, something that we see in the field very often is that AIs can be biased by the data set that you feed them. You could accidentally, MIT ran an experiment a while back where they ran an image recognition AI with different training sets and then showed it a bunch of ink blotches. And the one that was trained on Reddit.com saw all these violent things in these ink blotches. So, there's a lot of ways that this could potentially go wrong. But I do think that if you're careful in how you develop it and, you're very open and transparent about it, this could be a step in the right direction, but there's a lot of potential pitfalls along the way.
So overall, from your perspective, as someone who is in higher education and is the director of the Emerging Technology Policy Lab at UVU, do you look at this and say, hey, this is really interesting to watch, this could be a really good thing? Or do you look at this and go, boy, there's better places to start as we try to figure out this type of emerging technology?
I find it very interesting. And like I said, I think a lot of it will depend on how it's handled going forward. In my opinion, with this type of thing, if the end goal is to garner an increased measure of public trust, then you need to make the process and the procedure very transparent so that people don't think, well, hey, this is a program you developed internally, and now it's telling me that you are doing a really good job. So depending on how they handle it, I think it could be a great step in the right direction towards re-earning trust, but a lot of that is going to depend on how they proceed technically and how they proceed procedurally in terms of, transparency, openness. So I think it's a very interesting thing and it has a lot of potential, but I think it's a little early in the game to be saying, hey, this isn't net positive just yet.
Technology is important, but as always, process matters. Brandon Amaker, director of the I'm going to get this right, Brandon. I think I've had 3 different ways to say this so far. The director of the Emerging Technology Policy Lab at Utah Valley University. Thanks so much for your insight on this. We're going to talk more about this in our next segment as well. But I also want to remind you that it's important to stay up to date on the latest news with KSL's 3 Things newsletter. Each day you get an email with the top 3 things you need to know as you go about your day. Super easy to get started. All you have to do is text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox, INBOX, to 57500. Back with more of this discussion on media bias and how the LA Times is going to go about fixing that when we come back on Inside Sources.
When it comes to your electrical system, do you know the warning signs to look for? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and it's okay if you don't know, but here are a few things that you might not even realize could be a sign of a bigger problem. Wall plates that are hot to the touch, discoloration around switches or outlets, if you hear crackling or popping or buzzing around switches or outlets, a breaker that trips a lot, switches that feel loose when you operate them, if your lights dim or flicker when a major appliance comes on, if your plugs fall out of the wall easily. You're not supposed to have to bend the prongs out on a plug just to get it to stay in the wall. If you notice any of these things, you should consider having a licensed electrician check your system out. If you don't know anyone, Any Hour Services has put together a radio-only special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive electrical inspection and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. To schedule your comprehensive electrical inspection by a licensed electrician for only $29, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7300. That's 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states says Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Febreze. So my home is also my office, and before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Open the doors to gift-giving magic at This Is the Place Heritage Park. Start checking off your list because they've got just the thing for everyone on your Christmas list. You'll find everything from curated collections to home goods, toys, and specialty international brands only at the Gift Shop at Heritage Park. The Gift Shop at Heritage Park is your one-stop shop for giving holidays and all year round. Parking is always free, and their service is priceless. Located at 2601 East Sunnyside Avenue, Salt Lake City, right at the top of the hill on the plaza by the big monument. The gift shop is open 7 days a week. Then, don't forget holiday events all season long, including Candlelight Christmas, starting up December 10th through December 23rd, except Sundays. For information finding the perfect gift, visit thisistheplace.org. Now's the time, and this is your place for gifts, traditions, and holiday fun.
Donate your car to Charity Hotline. This is Roger.
Hi, Roger, I'd like to donate my car.
Yeah, good. Leave the keys in it, park it on the street, and we'll send a thug. Tow.
Where's your office?
In New Jersey. Where do you want it to be?
Well, Roger, I want to make sure my donation helps Utah kidney patients.
It will.
Which ones?
Well, does it matter?
Yes, I want the money to stay in Utah.
And boy, have you got the wrong number.
If you want your car donation to help people here in Utah, turn your car into a kidney car for the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho. Hi, this is Luz Lewis Perez. Kidney Cars is the Beehive State's #1 choice for charity car donation since 1990. When you donate your car to Kidney Cars, funding stays in Utah to help local Utah kidney patients and funds local medical research. Kidney Cars gets donors the highest tax deduction, along with free towing. Visit towcars.org and learn more. That's Tow Cars with a K like kidney. That's TOWKARS.org.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com, your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Salt Lake City Fat Loss is having a huge holiday sale, almost 20% off, making it our lowest prices of the year. You can start the program before, during, or after the holidays. We know the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day with no prepackaged meals, no injections, or surgery. The secret is our program helps reset your metabolism so you can keep the weight off for good. To learn how our clients on average lowered their metabolic age by 17 years, go to slcfatloss.com now to schedule your free consultation and learn why your metabolism may be sabotaging your weight loss goals.
I'm Maria Chaleos, and I'm so glad to have Salt Lake City Fat Loss on my side during the holiday season when many people gain weight. I'm keeping off that 40 pounds and staying accountable with their great app. Jumpstart your weight loss before the holidays. Check it out at slcfatloss.com. slcfatloss.com.
Go to slcfatloss.com and save big now. Almost 20% off, only through December 31st.
Results may vary.
Advanced Window Products. Factory Direct. Affordable windows. Call today. They're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, cuts in federal funding could mean wildland firefighters have to get by with less. Second, bird flu has turned up in a couple of cats in California that were fed raw milk. And third, this is the time of the year when police are trying to get people to plan ahead for their holiday celebrations to avoid driving impaired. 40 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
It wasn't that many years ago, but it wasn't last year that I was the spokesman for the Herbert administration. That was back from the end of 2013 until mid-2015, and then I went to run the re-election campaign. But I dealt every day with reporters, and I loved it. It was maybe the favorite job I'll ever have in my career. I loved the fact that that role had me kind of going toe-to-toe with the press. But outside the bubble, you were toe-to-toe with the media, right? And then inside the bubble, you ended up in this weird role where you were the advocate for the reporters, right? Hey, we need to give them some information on this. Here's what we should say. Always trying to kind of work both sides of that. And I used to tell people when I was the governor's communication director, the governor's spokesman, that, I know everyone says the media is biased. I think the media bias, at least with the press corps that I worked with, was a bias toward something interesting. They were just always looking for something interesting. And what was interesting wasn't usually the stuff. Occasionally it was the stuff that we wanted them to talk about, but mostly it was the stuff that they found interesting that was not often the stuff that we said, hey, this is what we really wish everybody was talking about right now. We're trying to drive this story, but they want to talk about this thing. And there's always this push and pull of how do you stay on message as an administration when you're dealing with the press corps. And I love that group. I really enjoyed my interactions with them. So I don't know that I can speak to, that's coming up on a decade ago. So I'm a little removed from that. And the group that covers the governor's office now, very different makeup, right? It's different people entirely than those who were there when I was there. So let me just speak to this more on like a national level. Those who've covered the federal races, the presidential race, covering the Senate, covering the House, I think they did themselves a real disservice this time around, because if anything, one of the takeaways I had from the election is it is really hard to argue that the media, the left and the right media, are trying to advocate for a position. And I think a lot of this is to blame primarily on like the cable news side. And I don't mean to like just demonize it as a medium, but I think on cable news more than anywhere else, they don't do a great job of distinguishing between what is news and reporting and what is editorial, right? Like it sort of goes in from like, oh, here's a show with some reporters and we're talking to people and we're interviewing them and we're giving you the facts, who, what, when, where, why, and how. And then all of a sudden you're into a talking head, a pundit who is paid to give you his or her opinion. And it's okay to have both. It just, the line between the two got to be a little bit blurry for, I think, the casual viewer. And I think there is an element of like, this is the way we approach reporting these stories, and we're going to take the slant. Now, if you want to deal in absolutes, you can never take all bias out of media. You just can't do it because human beings are involved. You can't take all bias out of it. I look at the world a certain way. And so when I go to report a story, if I'm a reporter, which by the way, I was in a previous life before I worked in the Herbert administration, when you go to do it, you bring with it, like, even if you really, really try, like, I don't want to be biased in this. When you go to report it, there's something that's going to seem newsworthy to you, and that is going to be the product to some extent, great or small, to your personal bias. But I think what people are really hungry for in the general like media consumption, and maybe the numbers won't back me up on this, I think there's sort of a trend to like, I don't mind getting my opinion from folks who are going to look and see things the way I generally see the world. I think it's healthy if people break out of that whenever they can and get a little sample of what the other side is saying, see if you can understand a different perspective. But I think there is a growing appetite for people to say, I want someone I can count on and trust to give it to me straight down the middle. And I don't know where people nationally necessarily would say, if I want from the right, I go to Fox or I go to Newsmax. If I want the left, I go to MSNBC. Where do I go to be straight down the middle? I wouldn't know where to send someone to say straight down the middle. I've always felt like as a business, there's a real lane there for someone to run into and say, we're not just going to say that we're, unbiased, that we're fair. We're going to really try to do it. And it's going to be straight news. The thing that pops to my mind that's the most recent example of something that felt like that, I don't even know if this exists anymore. I haven't looked at it forever. The old school, 30 years ago, headline news, when it was just like 30-minute news nonstop, and they just kind of hit story, and it was fewer interviews or pundits or people coming in with their opinions, that kind of thing. I think there's an appetite for it. I think people are looking for something where they can say, I don't even want your opinion. I don't want what you think on this. I just want you to tell me who did it, what they did, why they did it, how they did it, where they did it, when they did it. Give me all that. That's the information I want. But you're never going to take bias out of all media when there's a human element in it. So that's why I think this is really interesting. And I think it's a really interesting move from the head of the LA Times, the owner of the LA Times, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, who is going to implement this AI tool starting in January to try to at least reduce bias in his newsroom. Will it work? I don't know. We're going to find out. But I found it interesting that there was pushback in his own newsroom, that reporters and a columnist said, we're out of here. Not going to be part of this. Not going to bring AI in and try to tell me that I'm biased. It's actually what editors usually do. That's the role an editor plays in a newsroom traditionally, is let's make sure that we've got this covered correctly before we go to publication. So I don't understand why people in the newsroom are saying, oh, we can't have this. I think it's a bad look when reporters are sort of throwing their hands up and saying, nope, we don't want any part of trying to eliminate bias. You got to recognize there's a problem, and you got to do what you can to try to eliminate it. I want to thank you for giving me some time to hang out with you today, and I want to make sure you know that tomorrow on Inside Sources, Adam Gardner and Rusty Cannon are here with you from 1 to 3 for more political discussion and analysis. And coming up next, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News right here on KSL. Have a great day, everyone.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. 39 degrees, KSL's top story. More than a third of Utah's